Compost is a choice. Welcome back to the Manure Maiden podcast. We're going to be talking about community, control, and what we decide to return to the soil. Today's episode is not just about compost, it's about power. Who controls resources? Who decides what is waste? Who benefits when nutrients are centralized, extracted, and sold back to us? Community composting is not trendy, it's ancient, and it's one of the quietest forms of resistance that we have. Today, we're talking about why people compost together, what can actually be composted, including things that make people uncomfortable, and why the way that we handle nutrients, bodies, and land is deeply connected to systems of control. If that sounds heavy, stay with me. This is still Manure Maiden. We are going to make it make sense. People do not start composting because they want another chore. They start composting because something is broken. Landfills smell, food is expensive, soil is dead, farmers are struggling, communities are disconnected. Community composting shows people something different. It shows that waste is not inevitable. It shows that nutrients belong where life happens. It shows that solutions do not have to be top down to be effective. And at Esperanza's, people come to community compost because they want their scraps to mean something. They want accountability. They want transparency. They want to see where their food waste goes and who it feeds. Community composting rebuilds trust, not just in soil, but in each other. So let's talk about that elephant in the room. Compost is not just banana peels and leaves. Across history and across cultures, compost has included food waste, manure, crop residues, animal bedding, offcuts from cannabis cultivation, animal bodies, human bodies, biosolids, and treated sewage. And this can make people very uncomfortable because we have been taught to separate ourselves from decay. But composting is simply the controlled return of nutrients to the soil. Cannabis offcuts are carbon and nitrogen rich. They are plant matter. They break down like any other crop residue when managed properly. Animal bodies have primarily been composted. Livestock mortality composting is a regulated, science-based practice that prevents groundwater contamination and returns nutrients safely to the land. Human composting, also known as natural organic reduction, is now legal in multiple states. It's not radical. It is efficient, dignified, and soil positive. Biosolids, when treated and tested, have been used in agriculture for decades. The question isn't whether they exist. The question is who controls their use and who bears the risk. Composting forces us to confront the full life cycle of consumption because nothing disappears. It only moves somewhere else. And let's talk about how synthetic fertilizers promise control, exact numbers, immediate response, predictable growth. But what they actually deliver is a dependency. They don't build soil, they don't feed microbes, they do not retain water, and they do not sequester carbon. They strip systems down to inputs and outputs. Compost does the opposite. It builds biology, it increases resilience, it reduces water use, and it feeds plants slowly and steadily. Synthetic fertilizers centralize power in corporations. Compost decentralizes it back into communities. One system requires constant purchasing and the other requires cooperation, and that difference really does matter. This is where people get nervous, but stay with me. Fascism thrives on scarcity, fear, and control. Control of food, control of land, control of bodies. When communities cannot feed themselves, they are easier to dominate. When nutrients are removed from local systems and sold back as products, people do lose autonomy. Community composting is the opposite of that. It says, we will take responsibility for our waste. It says we will feed our own soil. And it says we will care for our land collectively. Compost teaches cooperation instead of competition, although a good competition is never a bad thing. It teaches cycles instead of extraction, and it teaches that nothing thrives alone. And that's not an accident, it's a value system. At Esperanza's, compost is not a side project. It is how we connect food recovery, animal care, land stewardship, and community health. Food scraps feed soil. Soil feeds gardens. Gardens feed people and animals. Animals create Manure. Manure feeds compost. See, nothing is wasted and nothing is hidden. And we teach this because access alone is not sovereignty. Control over systems is. Composting is not just environmental. It's cultural, it's political, and it is deeply human. Every time you compost, you are making a decision about where nutrients belong. And every time a community composts together, it's choosing cooperation over extraction. If you want to learn how to do this safely, ethically, in a way that actually works for real life, that's pretty much what we do here. So go look at what you threw away today. It might be the foundation of something better. And that's okay. We can always have something to improve on. Thanks for listening to Manure Maiden.